Whenever you, me, anyone feels like life sucks, it means the exact same thing, and yet it's not what we instinctively think. Check it out. You sprain your ankle, that sucks, but as an isolated incident, most people wouldn't say that their life sucks because it is not an endless loop of suffering. We know we're about a week away from basic functional normalcy and a month or so away from near full normalcy. On the flip side, if we're working a job that does not pay enough to sustain life, and we feel like we don't have the skills or even the time to go searching for a higher paying job, that's when we might feel that life sucks, because going to an underpaid, underappreciated, and unengaging job every single day feels like that suffering is in a loop without an exit door. By the end of this video, you'll see the exact way to calculate, and way more critically, what to do about it. Every single one of us has 4 core buckets that make up the way we see and experience our lives. Health, money, relationships, and fulfillment. Those are the only 4. Every challenge or opportunity you have in your life fits into one of them. Of course, there can be many sub-buckets. For example, under health, you may have a sub-bucket for physical health and one for mental health. And even under physical health, you may have sub-buckets for strength, mobility, endurance, balance, rest and recovery. You get the point. But let's get to calculating. This is a copy of my life score spreadsheet. And just to be clear, all these numbers are based on an out of 10 score. Also, these are just the sub-buckets that I personally deem important. Yours will likely look wildly different, and to respect your time, I'm not going to go through every single line, but I will show you a few lines to share how I arrive at those numbers so you can get a feel for different modes of measurement. Okay, line 1 is body fat percentage, and this mode of calculation is super easy. For me, there's morbid obesity, clinical obesity, there's not obese, which is less than 25%, and then there's my goal of 15%. That's 4 zones total, so when it comes to assigning an out of 10 score, I can split this score into 4 potential zones worth 2.5 each. I am no longer clinically obese, but I'm still pretty close at 24.1% body fat, which means I'm in this zone, which also means I know I'm going to give myself between a 5 out of 10 and a 7.5 out of 10. However, since I'm closer to the clinically obese side of the range, I give myself a 6 in this line. You can see under mental health I have freakouts, hater mode, and offended count. The less instances of each I have over the past month, the higher the score. September happened to be a good month. I mean, my offended and hater mode scores are generally a 9 or 10, but my freakout one can really fluctuate because I get so unforgivingly mad at myself when I screw up. The point of showing you these lines is to say that unlike body fat percentage, there is no concrete measurable metric. So these lines are all really just going off of memory of the past month and my general vibe. It's important to reiterate, each line is strictly personal. You may not feel like any of my 3 matter for your assessment of your own mental health. In fact, you may not even feel like mental health is an important sub-bucket to you. Money is a super easy one to be accurate with. For me, I've dialed in my deep understanding of my own financial goals and budgets, so I only need 2 lines here. I'm fortunate enough to be debt-free, so there's no debt servicing line here. But if I were in debt, I'd definitely have at least 1 line dedicated to clearing debt. Relationships are all about a feeling. There's no way to be scientific about the number assigned. In other words, we're trying to quantify a qualitative metric. The greater potential value I feel for you is to see just how many sub-buckets of relationships I strive to track. My relationship with my mother, I have assigned an 8 because I distinctly remember being rudely impatient with her in September. The last line here under relationships is public interactions. So this refers to bank tellers, grocery store employees, strangers when I'm out and about. I mean, did I lean on my horn unnecessarily when someone cut me off? Did I take out my frustration on an employee for a bad experience that they don't even have control over? These would lower my public interaction score. Fulfillment, you can see what matters to me here, but of course yours will look different. I tell you this because if you think there's value in experimenting, you can download this Google Sheet for free, no strings attached, down in the description below. However, something to pay very close attention to, since your categories won't be the same as mine, is if you look here, when I click on the fulfillment total, then glance at the formula up top, it's averaging these 9. You will likely not have exactly 9, so you'll need to double check the formula so it's not calculating your life inaccurately. Moving on though, now that you've calculated how much or how little your life sucks, the real question is, what are you going to do about it? And just as, if not more importantly, how? 3 initial steps. First, whether you went detailed or general, assess the worst of your linchpin challenges. What do I mean by linchpin challenges? For me personally, health is a linchpin bucket, because where my life sits now, I believe that if I don't improve my health bucket, everything else will suffer. So looking at my spreadsheet, you can see that my lowest score under my linchpin bucket of health is mobility/flexibility. The second step that works for me is to address that first, no matter what, before anything else every day. Popping over to my calendar, you can clearly see that as I tap every day on my calendar, that second scheduled event is my mobility routine, literally before I wash my face and brush my teeth. I spent years trying to make changes, and even when I deliberately schedule and tell myself that I would commit to doing the thing to enact change, I always fell off the tracks until I made it literally the first voluntary thing I do after waking up. You'll also notice that my mobility routine is only 20 minutes, and waking up 20 minutes earlier is really no big deal for me. But if I put it off to later in the day, it gets way too easy to say things like, I'll do it after my meeting, or I'll do it after I work on this client deliverable. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting down having dinner and saying to myself, I'll do it tomorrow, which, at least for me, I know I won't. But now, for that third critical step, how the hell do you even start when things like crippling debt, downward spiraling health, and toxic friendships feel so daunting to overcome? The word plan is thrown around so easily, but to make a plan that not only works, but that you can actually follow is key. And in order to thread that needle, you will definitely want to watch this video right up here. If you feel like the issue is deeper, then this video down here is the one for you. I'll leave them both on screen for a few seconds so you can choose which one to watch, but while you're deciding, if you got value, consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell so you'll be notified the moment new videos just like this one drop.